A Labour MP has been threatened with disciplinary action after a clash with Jeremy Corbyn ally over anti-Semitism. Ian Austin, a former minister and aide to Gordon Brown, has received a letter from the party accusing him of abusive conduct in Parliament. And it follows the threats of disciplinary action against veteran MP Margaret Hodge, who's admitted calling Mr Corbyn a racist and anti-Semitic. Well, here with me now in the studio is writer and broadcaster Charlie Peters, and also joining us is James Butler from the left-wing website Novara Media. Let's start with you then, shall we, James? The Labour Party just can't seem to get this right, can they?
Well, I think the Labour Party is getting it right, and it's been a slow process to get here, and that's been regrettable. It's important to remember, I think, that the NEC, the National Executive Committee, which governs the conduct of the Labour Party and how its disciplinary processes work, has not only made its code of conduct in accordance with the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, but has, listening to the criticism that has come from the Jewish community, agreed to reopen the way in which it makes those rules, and I think that's the right thing to do. I think it's important for the party to listen to these things, but I think it's also important to remember that Ian Austin is being disciplined for behaviour which is, frankly, out of place in a political party. He was screaming profanity at the chair of the party in the division lobby. That's something that should be taken seriously, and I'm glad that it is being taken seriously.
Charlie, do you agree?
Well, it's certainly true that swearing and being aggressive to someone should be out of place in a political party. But it seems clear to me that lots of things that are distasteful aren't out of place in the Labour Party. One of the key things, of course, is anti-Semitism, which is now increasingly rife amongst the members and indeed some activists and commentators. It's pretty stunning. Now, imagine if the Conservative Party, a party which has had problems with Islamophobia in the past, responded to accusations of Islamophobia by changing their definition of Islamophobia and by disciplining MPs who were upset and distressed about this. It would be outrageous. The front page of The Guardian the next day would be Tories' Day of Shame. Owen Jones would be pumping out columns about the rise of fascism, and Novara Media, I'm sure, would do lots of excellent podcasts on the topic. You know, there'd be uproar on this, but unfortunately it seems to be the case that when anti-Semitism is raised in the Labour Party, there is they rediscover their tolerance. They start to think, oh, you know, is this so bad? We need to think about freedom of speech here. We need to have a process. We need to be very gentle. You know, it's a shambles. They're terrible at dealing with this issue, and it's a shame.
OK, James, you've got veteran MPs like Margaret Hodge. She herself has personal experience, you know, of the Holocaust, memories of that. Are you saying that she should not confront Jeremy Corbyn and not tell her views?
No, absolutely. I think there is a place, and a necessary place, for strident criticism of the leadership of the Labour Party. I've been a frequent critic of it myself. I think it's important to note here that though Charlie suggests that the party hasn't adopted the definition of anti-Semitism, it has. The Code of Conduct adopts the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism. It adjusts and embellishes the examples given in order to make them work within a code of conduct for a political party. That is important, and it's important not to accuse the National Executive Committee of attempting to adjust the definition of anti-Semitism, which it hasn't done. Now, where I would agree with Charlie, and where I think it is important, is to recognise that there needs to be more conversation with the Jewish community on this. And just to pick him up, I should point out that Saeed Avasi in the Conservative Party has pointed out that Islamophobia is rife, and the Conservative Party is doing very little to nothing about it.
But, James, many people are frustrated with this new code because they haven't listed the particular examples.
Well, they have listed most of the examples. The reservations that the NEC has had about some of the examples are the same reservations that the Home Affairs Select Committee, which includes, or included at the time of that deliberation, such avid non-Corbynites as Chukka Umuna, had the same reservations about the impact that certain of those examples could have on freedom of speech.
So what do you make of this then, Charlie? Was it of an oversight, or do you think it was deliberate?
Well, I think it was absolutely deliberate. They've realised that one of the examples that's given by the IHRA about remembering the Holocaust, and also about how we criticise the state of Israel, I think they might have realised in the Labour Party that lots of their members are strident critics of Israel in a way which can be considered to be anti-Semitic. The reason they need to change that is because even Seamus Milne, the Director of Strategic Communications within the Labour Party, He's written a number of columns for The Guardian in the last decade about Israel, which could be considered anti-Semitic under this example in the definition of anti-Semitism that Labour don't want to adopt. So it's got to be deliberate, because they realise that if they adopt this definition, they'll be forced to remove some very senior figures in the Labour Party and remove members who they might want to keep.
James, do you think it's right that, you know, MPs like Ian Austin, Margaret Hodge, is it right that they're now being disciplined?
Well, they're not being disciplined.
Well,
there
is
is
a threat
a process
that they will be.
No, they have received what is a pro forma standard disciplinary letter that many people in the Labour Party have received over time, including those who have been involved in campaigning for Jeremy Corbyn as well. These are letters that many people I know have received over the course of the past few years. It's important that these disciplinary processes are applied equally, that they are applied to the newest member and the most senior MP alike. The conduct that Margaret Hodge admits to and that has been alleged about Ian Austin is unacceptable within a political party, and I think it's important that they be reminded of that. Now, I don't expect much to come of it other than perhaps a reprimand and a reminder that in order to make progress on this issue in a party that all of its members care about, and I believe Ian and I believe Margaret both care about the party as much as the rest of the party. In order to make that progress, we need to be able to listen to each other and treat each other with collegiality. That's important, and certainly screaming at people in the division lobby with words that I can't use on air here is just unacceptable.
Charlie, you're shaking your head through much.
Well, I mean, if I, in my workplace, called one of my colleagues an anti-Semite or a racist, I would expect some disciplinary process to be picked up. I would expect conversations to take place. But if the person I was accusing of anti-Semitism and racism had invited anti-Semitic terrorist groups to Parliament to have tea, had invited notorious anti-Semites who discuss blood libel conspiracy theorists to Parliament, I'm not convinced that I'd be the person in trouble because of that. Okay? The Labour Party leadership is full of people who have pretty repulsive views or associate themselves with with people who have pretty repulsive views. And the reason why they're changing this definition is because they can't tolerate those views under the original definition.
James, your view on that?
Yeah, I don't buy this at all. The idea that anyone in the Labour Party, in the leadership of the Labour Party, who have been utterly committed to anti-racism, who have been utterly committed and who are explicit in wanting to stamp out anti-Semitism within the party, which they have recognised, perhaps belatedly, that it is a problem that exists within the party. I do not buy.
But James, it's incredibly rare that a group of newspapers, Jewish newspapers, rally together against a leader of a party, which they have done this week.
Yeah, look, there are two things here. One is this disciplinary issue, which I accept is a separate matter. The second thing here is, look, there has obviously been a breakdown of trust between the Labour Party and many Jewish community groups. The thing that needs to happen now is a process of listening, a process of communication, and a process of dialogue, which the National Executive Committee has committed itself to doing.
OK, James Butler, Charlie Peters, thanks for your thoughts.
Thank you.